All right, so we are here at EnvisionB2B, and I am here with Max Zuckerman of Balance. And I'm Tom Gaydos, CMO of McFadyen Digital. Thanks for checking out this tech chat. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Balance?
Sure, Tom, thanks. So Balance essentially is a payment processor and provider for B2B transactions. And what we see in the B2B world is if you want to have a transaction online, you generally want to have your own checkout experience, you want to have your ability to have credit card, ACH, wire transfer, maybe even checks. But when in the business world, when you're going online, you're not always going to be able to pay right then and there. So oftentimes you'll need some sort of net terms. You know, Coca-Cola is not going to buy from Dell $250,000 worth of computers just by putting in their credit card. So in addition to the checkout experience and the ability to have kind of your own processing, we also offer financing. So we can evaluate buyers for net terms. We can give them ahead of time a qualification so they know what they would be able to use when they are at the checkout experience. And then they can get an invoice, pay it later however they prefer, and we handle all of the risk, all of the collections, account reconciliation is all on us.
That's awesome. So really simplifying the checkout and giving that consumer experience that you're used to on an Amazon or a site like that for the B2B world, which is really sorely needed.
Exactly.
So when you've had a lot of success with marketplaces, and I know that's our bread and butter. We have a mutual client, ChemDirect. So what are you seeing in the marketplace space? Why are you guys being so effective and so enthusiastically adopted within the marketplace space?
I think what's interesting about marketplaces is there are so many moving parts and different parties to every transaction now. You could have multiple vendors in one transaction going through a marketplace for a particular buyer, and the buyer doesn't necessarily want to receive 3 or 4 different invoices, number one. The marketplace itself might not necessarily want to collect payment and put it in their own bank account and then have to figure out how to pay out the different vendors, because then there's tax implications and compliance implications and controlling the money flow. So that's another component of it. And who's the merchant of record, right? Where's the shipment coming from? Who's doing the invoicing? How do you reconcile all of this? And then the biggest part of this, when you have multiple vendors involved, or even one vendor in a marketplace, the marketplace itself is not the one that has the capacity to provide net terms to the buyers. And the vendor might be working with the marketplace. They're not necessarily working directly with the buyer, so they don't know who the buyer is always, so them providing net terms might be a challenge as well. So enter Balance, where we can actually underwrite the buyers, understand what the net terms that we would offer them would be. We're purchasing the account receivable from the would-be vendor. The marketplace doesn't have to be in the flow of funds at all. So we would collect the money, you'd be able to pay out the vendor, and then the marketplace takes their cut on the top of this, right? And the whole time, the buyer gets the same experience that they would have going directly from the vendor, but with a lot more options and a lot more growth capability for that marketplace.
So it makes all of that complexity very transparent and adds a lot of balance and zen to their overall shopping experience.
Balance is what's important.
I like it. So what industries are you really seeing as hot and demanding this kind of simplification?
Of course. I think what's interesting is industries you wouldn't have seen this in before. Commodities, steel, lumber, right? We're seeing a lumber industry that used to be, you send a PO, you call different mills, you find out what their prices for the day are, you call 5 different ones, and this is all a very archaic process that takes a lot of time. Now they just go online, they put in their bid, they say done, 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 check, good to go, right? And this is an online marketplace for a very large good, right? There's a lot going on there. And they're able to get net terms, net 15, net 30 through us, and then they're able to ship this.
Game changer.
It's a game changer for commodities. Steel, lumber, like I said. We're seeing it across chemicals. I think one of our shared customers is ChemDirect.
ChemDirect.
Yeah. We're seeing it in food industries, so restaurants and bars being able to buy and have kind of net terms through a marketplace and maybe trade credit if there's an issue and they need to have kind of a future order because they had either a quantity or a quality issue with what was received. There's a lot of complexity involved in this, and I think that marketplaces in particular, what's interesting about that is you can order from many different places at once and just have one invoice. So the buyer experience is significantly improved, and the marketplace can provide this for them in which the individual vendors cannot. On the flip side of this, we're seeing larger organizations. I'm talking like Fortune 50 companies that are now starting to look at marketplaces to improve the experience for their buyers as well. Their buyers are saying, hey, we need your componentry for our large turbine engine, but we also need these 3 other things that one of your other suppliers gives to us usually, but you don't manufacture on your own, but we don't want to purchase in other locations. We want to get the engine components from you and the other pieces we need in one place. So they're looking at marketplaces to augment their buyer experience and provide an end-to-end solution.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. So that simplification applies just across the board, and that's really improving the consumer experience for these B2B buyers. So what do you see as what's next? What are some hot trends that you're seeing in this space in terms of that what we've dubbed the business mullet, sometimes the B2B mullet, in terms of the simplification of the experience in the front, even though there's all this crazy stuff going on in the back.
Right.
What's next? Like, what's the improvements? What are your clients kind of driving you guys to do that you don't have yet?
I think what's amazing is when you look at the ability to have someone else offer the terms capability and the brand experience that you want on your own site. You used to, let's say, pay a certain percentage for credit cards, but now you have this terms experience that you have more control over. You can actually monetize transactions in ways you couldn't before. So let's say you were paying 3% for credit cards, but with our terms, let's just assume a round number, 2%, right? You could charge the customer or the vendor, 2.25% or 2.5%. So that extra 25 or 50 basis points is now yours per transaction that never existed for you before.
So monetizing something that has never been monetized before because you're now controlling the terms.
You're controlling everything end to end, and this is particularly interesting for marketplaces that might have hundreds of millions of dollars of GMV, 50 million, 100 million, and they're not touching the money at all right now, right? They're just maybe taking a flat rate per transaction, but now they have a small percentage of every transaction, and now their monetization is a completely different ballgame.
So it's not just, and that's what I always think of you guys as the benefits to the buyer, right, and the simplification, but it's really adding an additional revenue stream to the marketplace operator in a way that they've never seen before. That is excellent. Any closing thoughts before we go? Anything for our B2B buying audience that you'd like to tell us about balance?
I think we're in the nascent stages of this whole shift in kind of how people are buying online. I think everything e-commerce today that people have realized makes their business better, the next evolution is going to have to be marketplaces as well. So I think it's going to be a combination of your e-com platform, your marketplace capabilities, and having the ability to make an end-to-end experience on your site without pushing them to a different location for terms or pushing them to a different account creation is going to be kind of this next expectation. To your point earlier, the consumerization experience that you have on your own in the business world.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're glad to be a balanced partner. We're happy to be working with you guys on a few accounts here, and thank you for the time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.